sinuous.
Fire. Back off the streets.
Yeah. This album consists of a bunch of tracks that didn't make it to official releases, and still dope enough to wanna put it on repeat quick. So peep this, throw us in your CD player. Oh, I forgot they non-existent, dog. Shit has changed major. So scratch that, throw it in your iPod player. Like, my God, he write hard, a ball on you figures. Yo, they throw backs, give it away for free like, oh boy. Go and make noise when you hear, hope you jump for joy. I'm optimistic, glass ain't half empty, it's half full. Hopefully by now you know me from the Jazz Council, that was years ago. So I brought more fire to douse dudes and playing by house rules. I lay back like a couch dude. I'm that dude to make his own beats, writes his own rhymes, records his own shit. Probably why it takes so much time to put out an album. Man, I'm always behind schedule. Ain't that I ain't hungry, I just always got my plate full. Try to digest all the topics that I'm spitting. You need to sit back and actually take the time to listen. We living in a new age where mind states are feeble. Kids' attention spans are shorter than Danny DeVito. My beats though, be banging, be about my business. Bass stays knocking like a Jehovah Witness. Leave them scattering when chattering, the gang of rhyme patterns. I ain't worth challenging, you gon' need some aspirin. Aspiring to be me, no empires to feed. Just a chosen few that's flowing through, firing up the weed. Jesus, crazy what the world coming to. I'm here to live it, make music. But y'all is just hanging on a gimmick, huh? Wait a minute, man. Don't get me confused with none of these newbie ass rappers, man. I know the game be feeling fucked up, but I've been making beats since '95, regardless if I had the right promotion or not. Word up. Hey yo, I ain't always humble, I ain't always intense. I've had my good and bad days like anyone else, more or less. Probably a lot more than less, so the more of it in a sense. Feel blessed, so I just move forward through the stress. But don't smoke stress, smoke the bombest weed you ever seen. Cannabis club category, certified Cali green. Type of bomb that I keep up in my sack. They give a lot of cats anxiety attacks, there's no denying the facts. But enough about the weed though, I keep it on a need to know basis. It's time for me to cut to the chase quick. So download the free LP, spread it to your friends and family, even to the little haters mad at me. I got 2 official LPs coming after these. So far I'm grateful for the love that's coming back to me. Truly appreciate the support, especially my peeps that had my back when I was going in and out of court. But of course a shout out to all my people who kept the game alive instead of killing it, selling out with weak flows. My crew, anyone that gave an honest point of view, much respect besides me, man. I do this shit for you, yeah, for you.
I think most girls and boys like to play games. In fact, adults like to play games also. In this game, it's very important to listen to all the instructions. We're going to combine your things easily.
Yeah. Pop, so suspect. Now as my rhyme surpasses, see visions are overpasses. Some choose to overlook it, they should be looking past it. We hope for classics, we over you whack masters. Soul suspects, man, we fall from the average. People try to act like they shit don't stink. They'll be up shit's creek, plus their ship's gon' sink. Now they knee deep in bullshit with nothing to think. On the brink of dealing with the most unpleasant of things. Time switch up, find ways to humble your strut. Just when you was thinking you was the next runner up, shit out of luck, yo, it's just the way it goes. I ain't gotta stress the rest, all you already know. From a distance, street lights start to filter in. Home from a round trip, had to visit new lands. Back in the building again, back from building with fam. Spaced out, sleep deprived, staring at the ceiling fan. So many things that they said to us when we was kids, but it was all bullshit. Yeah, open up your eyes. They would try to tell us one thing, then say the next thing. So I say, never listen to the lies. Man, everyone's a critic, just spit it how you live, it's how it's meant to be intended. So open up your eyes. It's all part of the game, ain't nothing but a dang dog. So I say, learn to read between. Yo, you going at it all wrong, so open your eyes. Yo, them cats be living life like they got 9 lives, so don't try.
Well, hello, folks. How is everybody doing today? Let's see. I think that we have audio working. Fingers crossed if anybody is listening and wants to let me know in the chat. Had some audio issues the past couple of days. Still getting this thing figured out. But hopefully that will get things going. Oh, Tassos is in the house. What's going on? Vlad, howdy. I'm guessing that means that you guys can hear me. I hope. Let's see here. Luca's back. Good to see you guys. Thank you guys for tuning in again. Hoping everybody is still at home, still positive, still productive, and making the best of all of this kind of unscheduled time that we now have. Trying Trying to think. Thanks to everybody who stopped by yesterday with me and Chop. That was a fun one, and hopefully we'll do that again in a little bit. And for today, we're going to be going back to what we did on Sunday, which Sunday we did some thumbnailing for some ideas, and today we're going to hop into 3D and start making that going live. Milan, what's going on? What's going on? Lots of people, by my standards at least, you know. Doing the best we can over here. So let's take a quick recap of where we got to on Sunday, and then we'll kind of look at where we're going to get to, hopefully, moving forward. So, still getting all this OBS fun figured back out. I think this should work. And I think you guys are seeing my screen now. So these were kind of the quick thumbnails that we doodled up on Sunday, and kind of settled in on this one. I think is the direction I'm going to go. I'm doing this as kind of my interpretation of the Kitbash 3D kind of BrightArtDarkTimes challenge, which for anybody who doesn't know, let's go ahead. Here is a link. If you guys haven't checked this out, you definitely should. The fellows over at Kitbash are giving away a free kit, the Utopia kit, to anyone who wants to make some art and, you know, trying to spread some positivity with everything that's going on in the world. And so my thinking is actually, instead of using the Utopia kit, I think I'm going to use the Dark Fantasy kit, but hopefully make something that is a warm and bright image, or at least bright in theme is the idea. So this is kind of the thumbnail that we're going to start working to in 3D. Excuse me. And I've already opened up the Dark Fantasy kit. One of the first things that I do with all of the kits, whenever I get them, is I set up just kind of like a basic lighting setting, and kind of set up all of my shaders and stuff, so that if I ever want to use the kit again, I kind of have a good starting point for what I want them to look like, just to kind of work as quickly as possible, so I'm not reduplicating any effort. So if you guys haven't seen this kit, it's kind of this cool, it's this kind of cool Dark Fantasy, I guess. I'm thinking of it as kind of like an old fantasy town of some sort. And then I have already, just starting out, something that looks kind of like this to get us started. And, boop-a-doo. Let's see if it switches for me. There we go. So this is kind of like the starting point of what this whole scene, this base scene kind of looks like. This is from when I made the product shots way back when. And so this will at least get me, you know, through a lot of the tedium. And every time I use the kit, I get to start from this point, which is awesome. So let's close this down. We're going to hop straight into trying to rough out this scene. And kind of my general rule whenever I'm working from a thumbnail is I want to get to hitting render as quickly as possible. What I have found is that the first time that I look at something, first time I hit render, it's probably going to be bad. But that's not a terrible thing, because it immediately gets me kind of starting to figure things out. So I'm going to get there as quickly as possible and just kind of rough this out. So I'm going to pick kind of a main building, I think, for this one might be the one. That one's kind of cool, just to set in the middle and just rough out kind of the environment and landscape. I think that I'll count today as a successful day if we kind of have the buildings in place and some of like the rough terrain forms figured out. I think we're just going to do that super simply, because I'm thinking that this is going to be a misty, dusky, kind of spotlit image. And so I'm going to try to not get through like scattering any vegetation or trees. We'll do that tomorrow. But if I can kind of get the composition as a whole in 3D starting to get where I want it to be, I'll have counted that as a good day. So let's just grab this. building here, and we're just going to pull it out to the side and get started. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to move everything else, because this has some kind of ground in it already, and we might use it, we might change it later. But the name of the game here is to kind of get to where we get an idea of what we're looking at as quickly as possible. So to keep things Instagram friendly, we're going to switch this over to a square format. Oh, Gorkua. I have no idea how to pronounce that. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, so cheers to everybody that's come to hang out again. So we're going to go to a square format, and we're just going to kind of set up a rough camera. I don't like that little gap in this between those, so I'm just going to turn this a little bit. I'm just going to set up like a rough camera that kind of starts to give me something to work with. And generally speaking, I find that when you're trying to recreate 3D, oh, Lewis, what's going on, man? Thank you for being here. I've been enjoying seeing the screenshots of your office on Zoom. Those are awesome. Those are awesome. So we're just going to set up just a basic camera. You can usually look at this, like this doesn't look like an ultra wide camera to me. Obviously the horizon is pretty low, but it looks like a standard kind of like 40-ish millimeter lens or thereabouts. So I'm just going to start with that as an idea, and we'll kind of tweak it as we go along. And I want this to be low to the ground, and obviously we want to get the horizon as low, not as low as possible, but pretty low in this scene. What am I doing? There we go. Something like that I think probably is a good starting point. We might need to move this a little bit further back, I think. Something like that. This is kind of smack dead center in the frame, which generally speaking is a bad idea compositionally, but I feel like it's kind of working here. And I have an idea in my head of I think where this is going to go, and if it doesn't go that way, then we'll make changes as we move along. Oh, it's my pleasure. I have to figure out how to say your name. Gorkua. I have no idea. That was a failed attempt. What can you do though? I should probably bring my microphone down. I think we're going to probably have some fan noise to contend with once rendering starts today. But what can you do? Okay. Yeah, I think this composition is going to work, even though that the subject's kind of dead in the middle. We'll find out. So let's just grab a couple other buildings that we can kind of start to place. One of the things that I like working this way, or one of the reasons I like working this way, is if you just go and kind of get your main points in the frame where you want them to be, then you can very quickly kind of sculpt out a rough geometry for like landscapes and stuff. I'm not going to be using World Creator or Gaia for this one. Maybe next time. I think I want to stay away from the big stuff for this kit. I want this to feel more like a weird fantasy hamlet than like a castle landscape. So let's just grab a couple other ones that I like the shapes of. That guy's kind of cool. Ooh. We might come back to that one. Yeah, let's grab this one for now. I'm a big believer in not belaboring decisions that'll probably not end up mattering too much, to be 100% honest. This image and most of these kind of like concept-y fantasy images, they tend, at least the ones that I do, tend to be more about the landscape as a whole or the world as a whole, and less about like the specific building that I'm choosing for this one. So these guys are in the style that I kind of have in mind, which is important. But we could spend forever trying to pick the exact right piece to use, and the change in the final image would probably be pretty minor. And I'm just going to take this and move it off to the side so that I can keep an eye on it without having to keep bringing it up. This guy, I think, is a good contender to go in the back here. And I kind of have like a general idea looking at this image where things are in depth and kind of where I'm imagining them. So if I can get these into place quickly, we can start roughing everything else out. That's kind of my game plan to start with. And these guys, I'm going to move to the side for now because I think these three are the main ones. And now we're just going to try to model things as quickly and roughly as possible. If you've ever heard me talk about any type of 3D work before, you know that modeling is my least favorite part of, well, pretty much all of it. I like the concept part. I love lighting and composition. I love post-production. Actually modeling stuff is just not that much fun for me. So my hat is off to those of you that do like it. Definitely. And it's probably one of the reasons that I like these kits so much, because if I had to model all of these buildings, I would probably never ever actually make anything. So something like that. Again, we're just thinking of like the rough kind of shapes and forms here. We'll make it look good afterwards. All right, so I don't think I'm going to be able to talk about modeling for that long just because of my kind of thorough disdain for it. Mr. Jeff Model, who runs CG Architect, I'm sure that you guys are very familiar. Jake, yeah, modeling is the worst. Jeff Model, if you guys don't know him, he runs CG Architect. He has been posting a bunch about a thing that I think is very important for our industry with everything that's going on right now, which is dropping your prices because of everything going on. Allie, what's going on? Hope you guys are staying safe over there. Thank you for joining us. And Jake, what's going on as well? We're starting to see a lot of emails coming out from different firms, ArcViz firms, that are lowering the price of their services. So cutting rates on, renderings and then the whole like. If you haven't read Jeff's post about it, I suggest you find him on Facebook and read it. He's had a couple posts in the last couple days about it. But it's definitely one of those things that, I think will come back. I agree with Jeff's position, which is that cutting your prices right now is going to lead to problems later down the line. And one of the things that it's hard to do, and I found even without the experience of a pandemic, is that once your clients get used to a lower price for anything, it's very, very hard to raise that price later. The few times that I've actually changed my pricing throughout my career, I have definitely found that my clients were less than thrilled about it, and it usually ended up meaning that I had to find an entire new set of clients if I wanted to change my prices. And right now, with kind of the everything going on, I think a lot of people see this as a quick way to, keep bringing in some business while things are going on, and there's probably some truth to that. But I would encourage everyone to think about the long-term implications of it. At some point, this will end. I am very much convinced that one way or another, we're going to get through all of this, both as an industry and a society. And I think that we should be thinking as much as we can, not just in the short term. We are going to have to figure out a way to, continue to make a living for the time being, obviously, and that's a struggle that I don't think anyone's taking lightly, nor should they, but I think that don't just get so tunnel focused on that little aspect of things that you lose focus on the fact that when this is over, going back to those clients who you did work for 50% off for and telling them that your prices have gone back up is, in my experience, a very, very tough sell. It's kind of like if you give a client a discount on their very first image as a way, to lure them into working with you or whatever it might be. When I tried that at the beginning of my career, I found that almost every single time clients that came in that way would not pay a higher price, or it was a lot of work and a lot of effort and like friction in the relationship to actually get that higher price. So something to keep in mind. I think Jeff has said it much more eloquently and more thought out than I have. So I do encourage you guys to read his posts. If any of you have a link to it and you wanted to share it in the chat, I would be super duper psyched about that. And yeah, so we're just going to keep blocking in these simple, super simple forms. And we'll actually give these obviously like a non-polygonal look once they're in the right place. One of the other things that I'm, pretty keen on is trying to figure out what's not working as quickly as possible. And with something like modeling out a landscape, it's really easy to waste all your time making what you think is going to look cool and then finding out it doesn't work. But because you put work into it and so much time into it, you then don't want to change it. So I'm trying to keep that impulse at bay of I don't want to waste time on something I'm not going to end up using. And to do that, my biggest defense against it is, fail early. I believe Pixar is the most famous for that one. Which is to say you're going to make mistakes. You know that some things aren't going to work as you want them to. And the faster you can get to those issues, the faster you can start solving them and come away with something you're happy with. Okay, so first thoughts. This is too high, this is too low. I want them more stretched compared to where we're at. Yeah. I think the camera needs to come up just a little bit. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Just like I did last time? I think we should put some tunes on in the background. Let's see here. Media, open multiple files. Trying to figure out a way to do this somewhat legally, and I should have had this set up beforehand. I apologize. Sinuous, who is one of my favorite dudes to work with and an all-around awesome dude. He's a 3D artist out in San Diego, I believe, Southern Cal. I'm pretty sure San Diego. He's become a buddy of mine, and I really, really enjoy his tunes. I think they're great to work to. So I'm going to load those up and play them in the background for us. Massimiliano, they might. I have permission to use this music, so I'm going to put some on, and we'll see how it goes. And if this one doesn't work, well, we have plenty of time for more silent background music in the background. In the future. That might be a bit loud. Alright, I hope you guys can hear that in the back. Okay. Oops, sorry about that. Alright, let me know if you guys can hear that in the background. So we have something going on. And would love to know where everybody's at. Happy to have you guys here with me. And everyone, if you want to chime in with where you are in the world, I think that's one of the coolest things that we get to do right now. Is connect with people everywhere, since connecting with them locally face-to-face is no longer an option. Thank you, Jorge. I appreciate it, bud. Alright, let's get back to making some stuffs. Alright, so let's do something I think kind of like that, and then these guys need to get taller. Alrighty. Clark, I couldn't agree with you more, my friend. He very generously made Chop and I's jingle theme song for our podcast, which we're in love with. And yeah, his variety of hip hop is like one of my favorite things to listen to while working. Kind of like a good vibe to kind of get you in the zone. Ooh, Tampa, Florida. Hey, you guys are getting Brady, right? Everyone here in New England is not pleased about that. I, being very much not a Patriots fan, but a Green Bay fan, I'm kind of laughing all the way to the bank on it. Ah, we got some folks from Italy. Awesome, awesome. Ciao. And Romania. Very cool. Very awesome. I've mentioned it the past couple of days. One of the things that I've been doing is trying to have like a beer with a friend like every night, or sometime, occasionally during the day, as it may be, just to catch up, check in with all my buddies, see how they're doing. And I very much encourage you guys to do it, because I think it's good for all of us to make sure that we're keeping that level of contact just in general. But also, I've found that I've been talking to like some old friends that, because of life and everything else, just haven't gotten around, to talking to in a while. So, hey, the little blessings, right? I'm pretty excited about it. So every day I try to just like ping one of my buddies and ask them what's going on with them, how they're dealing with things. Valmic, what's going on, buddy? Oh, you're in CT, in Connecticut. Whereabouts in Connecticut, man? I finished high school there. Valmic and I went to grad school way back when for architecture together. We were in a couple studios together. Back in almost 10 years ago. Okay, so I think we want to thin this guy out a little bit. Yeah, this part of the whole process is kind of, it's an interesting little part because it's definitely important, kind of getting things in the right place, and in my opinion, getting them in the right place right away. But there's nothing really fancy I'm doing here, besides just, kind of looking at things and thinking how they're actually going to look once they're rendered, and trying to kind of start to imagine something that works for me in my head. Because like I said, we'll make it good looking later. Oh, South Carolina. My folks are down in South Carolina. They live in just outside of Charleston, one of my favorite places in the world. Amazing food, super sweet people, and absolutely terrible summers. It is so freaking hot down there, my friend. So hot. But an amazing city, an absolutely amazing city. Sri Lanka. I think that might win for the furthest away so far. Never been out in that part of the world. Been to China and Japan, but that's about it. China, specifically Shanghai and China. How are things going in Sri Lanka with everything? I would love to hear. I'm not sure I've heard anything in the news about it specifically. Oh, ciao, Erica. Good to see you. Thank you for stopping by. Okay, I think as early as this looks, I think we're about close to pressing render. We're going to put just kind of a very rough texture on some things and start to look at it. Obviously it's a mess right now, but that is perfectly fine. Let's just put my kind of thought to kind of give you guys an idea of what I'm imagining going through this. My thought is that these are going to be cliffs, but we're going to have like little shelves in them with like little trees and maybe some bushes or something on top of it. I'm thinking of this as water right now, but that could change to land quickly. And then I think we'll have some buildings up here on the top ledge and, like trees and all that. And then some like very diffuse light coming through. I'm thinking a lot of atmosphere. And then, some little like door lights and window lights and all that kind of fun. So that's kind of the direction that I have in my head at the moment. Oh, we got some folks from Colombia. Very cool. Love seeing that. We're literally wrapping the globe, which is amazing. Thank you guys all for being here. Okay, so let's get a rock texture together. I almost always use the same cliff rock for these. again, thinking along the lines of thinking that it's, you know, not the most important thing in the world and we'll refine it if necessary. So even though I almost always use the same exact texture, I don't think I've ever actually found it in the first folder I've looked for it. Let's reset all of these because we don't need them. Let's drag in this guy. We're probably going to need displacement, so I'll pull that in just in case. We're not going to use it right away. Normal map, and maybe a roughness map. Okay. Alrighty, let's convert all those to F-Storm bitmaps. Oh yeah, just keystroke that. And let's apply it to all the rock surfaces, which we'll group for now, and put a super high smoothing level on it. And turn that guy off. I'm not really doing anything fancy here. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the chat. I'm happy to talk about them all. Excuse me. Oh, and hey, we have a question. Slate Material Editor. I like the Slate Material Editor pretty much only when I am working on like really complex materials. And actually, I'm gonna attach all of these. So if I have like, you know, dirt's getting plugged into different reflection maps or mix maps and things are starting to get complex, then yeah, I'll switch over to Slate Material Editor for that. But for a lot of stuff, especially for like these quickish sketches, I find that this compact one is just faster for me. And so I kind of, pretty much everything I default to whatever's fastest is, you know, plenty good for me. And let's just throw a couple of seams on here really quickly so that it's not distracting. And we'll go something like that. Call that good enough for now. And this guy, I'm picturing this guy as like a little bit taller, kind of like sticking up like this. So maybe we'll grab one more building to stick underneath of him before we hit render. So we need something kind of low and flattish. Actually, you know something? This guy might be perfect. Yeah, dude. I'm compact editor probably until Autodesk does something that makes it unusable. I mean, let's be honest. But for the time being, I am all about the compact editor. And not for everything, like I was saying before, but definitely for a decent amount of stuff, I like it. And that's true for, like, I keep this as the old school version, the scene select objects, because I can't figure out what all those icons mean in the other one. There's a bunch of things kind of in Max that I just find easier to do the old ways. I was using 2014 up until a year ago, I think, something like that. And do we have any small buildings in here? No, but we have these guys. Okay. And again, these aren't so much ideas of things that I'm going to keep here as much as having something there I think is going to help me. Who knows if that's true or not? We'll find out in a moment. All right. F-Storm. Yeah, I am mostly in F-Storm these days. Some dabbling with V-Ray and some of the things that they've been doing, particularly with Project Lavina, which I haven't played with yet, but I'm very excited about. But yeah, right now, most of what I've been doing has been in F-Storm. I think something over here, and then we'll just pretend that something's beneath that. Yeah, F-Storm, kind of, you know, I've been using it for pretty consistently for the past couple of years. But there definitely are some features that I'm getting frustrated are still not implemented, so we'll see how much longer that lasts. It's hard to say, to be honest. But for right now, you know, inertia's kind of got me stuck here with it. Oh, I'm glad you guys are staying home. I'm actually happy to hear that there's a curfew. I think that our country, my country, needs to get a whole lot more strict on letting people out and about, because we need to deal with this thing sooner rather than later. But I'm glad that you're staying positive. I'm glad that you're doing CG all day, because that just seems like, you know, the best thing you can be doing. Okay. So I'm going to throw just a little bit of displacement onto this. Maybe 2 meters worth. You never really know when you're displacing these giant surfaces what's going to happen. I've found when I was kind of teaching a similar workflow to what I'm doing right now in Venice this past year. I did a lot of like mountainy, cliffy things, similar to how I'm doing this, and you know, you never really can figure out what the results are going to be. All right, so we're gonna save and hit render and see if things are in the right place, and then see if we can't make things start looking kind of okay. Do I think Project Lavina will compete with Unreal Engine when it comes to animations? I haven't actually opened up and started playing with Lavina yet, so this is very much an opinion, not based on much actual first-hand experience or any real first-hand experience, but based off of some of the early stuff that I've been seeing and looking at, I think in visual quality, it's definitely going to compete. That's kind of my feeling. Obviously, it's not set up for gameplay. It's set up for animations and kind of moving around, so they can, it's supposed to have and make sure that you have resources for all the things that a game would require. You can really pour those resources into making sure everything looks as beautiful as possible. And obviously it's V-Ray, so I'm expecting for it to be pretty gorgeous, but I haven't actually played with it yet. Indeed, Martin. I'm gonna go with Martin. Yeah, dude, some of those pictures I've been seeing from Venice, with the dolphins getting closer to the edge and being able to see the bottom of some of the canals, since no boats are in it to stir up sediment, has been absolutely nuts recently. But you know, I was in Venice, a week before they got shut down, and you know, they've really gotten hit hard by this. So hopefully all of my friends that are there or were there are healthy and staying home and coping with everything. But yeah, that escalated really quickly over there. Right now we're just letting everything set up, and I think I forgot to hide all the other objects, and there's like displacement on just about every mesh in this kit right now, as the way I set it up. So we might be in for a little wait here, whilst my computer tries to displace 4 million polygons. Sorry about that, folks, but what can you do? It'd really be nice if we could abort right now, but we just sit and wait, have a drink. You know, I feel it's interesting. Back, 10 years ago, every time you wanted to do a test render, you'd have to go through this sitting and waiting. You'd see like a couple of buckets finish, you'd pause it, you'd tweak a thing, and hit render again, and then you'd have to wait. And now having to wait for this like once seems like it's too much. Really kind of a wonderful situation we are in the software side of things. Yeah, this one, we're gonna be looking at this little screen for a moment, unfortunately. So yeah, so that's what we're aiming at. Eventually will give us something to look at whilst waiting. I'm trying to think what else I have to talk about right now. seems like a lot of there's been if you guys haven't been following, The Real Deal has been doing live streams with developers talking about how everything's affecting how like the real estate companies are kind of coping with and planning for everything that's going on. If you go to The Real Deal's YouTube, you can find some of their recent talks, basically talking about that most of them are kind of holding off, waiting to see what happens, waiting to see how long it takes for the market to start to respond. For those of you in the ArcViz world, that'll definitely be affecting us, because until they, start to see kind of a light at the end of the tunnel, I'm guessing that they're not going to have a pressing need for images. But it was a really interesting talking about things that are, smarter people than me, talking about things that I don't fully understand. I encourage you to go and be kind of confused and kind of inspired by all the things you don't know. Always nice. Maybe that's one of the things that I'll take up on this little hiatus from normal life that we're all on. Try to learn a little bit more about like the business and finance side of architecture and development. I understand it in like very kind of general terms, and mostly as it pertains to me as someone who makes a lot of marketing images. But I don't really understand a lot of the mechanisms behind it of how these things are funded and the forces kind of at play. If anyone does understand that or has read a book that has resources of that matter, I would love a suggestion. I've been listening to a lot of business-oriented audiobooks recently, and now I'm starting to worry if this has crashed. Still moving. See, there's some single-threaded process. Memory's still changing. It's still alive. So much of Max is single-threaded. And my machine is still built for back when I was doing CPU rendering, so I have, 32 cores or whatever it is, and they effectively mostly sit idle, and one, slow core does all of the work. It's probably time to build a new workstation. What can you do? Right now is probably not the best time to buy and build a new workstation, but I would have the time to put it together. So there's that. We'll figure that out. All right, what else can we talk about here whilst waiting? Did we do? All right, guys. Have I tried Corona? I was just about to ask for a question, Clark, and you read my mind, because I was running out of things to talk about. Let's see what just happened. I have tried Corona, but it was quite a while ago. Back shortly after it. Okay, so now we have a image. That is good. Ooh. My computer's not happy about something going on. I tried Corona a while ago, back shortly after it came out, well before Chaos Group purchased it. And used it a little bit. I never used it really in professional production. And I haven't used it a ton since. So my familiarity with it, continues to decline effectively. I really like the noise. I really like kind of the quality of light and color that it got in it. But at the time when I was still using V-Ray as my main production renderer, it did not seem to be as clean and did not seem to have enough benefits to warrant changing. And then when I switched to GPU rendering, which is also when I switched to F-Storm, I kind of never looked back at Corona. And probably won't at this point. I'm pretty happy with the GPU direction of things. But, you never know. It really depends on what features I end up finding. I need to turn that off. We may have frozen some computer stuffs. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. I have no idea if you guys can still see me or not. I'm gonna continue on as though. My computer is so pissed right now. We're going to. Should we stop that altogether? Oh, you can still see me. That's cool. I don't know why VLC is stuck in front of that. That might just be on my computer. It is. All right, my computer's angry with me, but we're just gonna kind of push on. So basically, we can go and kind of, if we want to, look at kind of where everything is. And because I'm thinking of this as a kind of foggy night image, one of the easiest way to kind of figure out what the composition is going to look like, as opposed to wasting a ton of time trying to set up lighting that I know I'm going to change, is to look at the depth mask, right? Foggy, misty images are basically colorized depth maps when it comes to composition. So we can go ahead and first kind of look at this. I still think that we need a bit more more height here. I'd like this to feel taller. And I think it needs to come a little bit closer to the camera. We're just going to move this. Actually, we're going to move the bottom thing. I'm more concerned with this bottom line than I am the top. So we're going to go ahead and scoot this forward. Something like this, and we're going to scoot this back. I think something like that's going to work better. Move that there. We'll pull this whole mess together, which we're going to have to clean up. And then we're going to go and we're going to stretch this again. Maybe this whole little mess needs to come actually down. I didn't think that was the case, but that's what it kind of is feeling like. And you can see like why I tend to keep the modeling at this stage so very, very simple while I'm getting things into the places that I want them to be. If these were, you know, done properly, or they had already started to look good, making these changes would be just like painful, because you know you're undoing all of this work that you spent time doing. And so the simpler you can keep it kind of early on, the better off you'll be, in my opinion. Let's see. So something like this. Yeah, I had bought this workstation shortly before switching to GPU, which was, you know, not the most financially sound decision I've ever made. But at this point, it's been due for an upgrade for a while. I think it's 4.5 years old at this point. So I mean, it's still ticking, which, like, you know, pretty excited about that. But yeah, its time is rapidly coming to an end. I do believe. Okay, so that's kind of, let's see what this looks like. See if I just taunted fate. It shouldn't have to redisplace most things, but we will find out here in a moment. I should really save. Let's save. How we doing? 150. Not making quite as quick a progress as usual, though I guess that's to be expected. In the past, I have found that my efficiency rate whilst talking or being watched and working drops to about 25% of its normal time. But such is, you know, the fun of things. This pause is expected. This is just saving, so thank God we should be all right. Fingers crossed. Has anyone else picked up the Kit Bash 3D Utopia kit and started to make anything for BrightArtDarkTimes? I'm already seeing a lot of work that they've been posting of people that are making some awesome stuff. Martin, indeed, you guys are the best. You guys are the best. I feel like anyone who's somewhat accustomed to working in 3D and Max is used to sitting and staring and staring and staring. Okay, so one last little. Oh wait, no, we're not gonna do that to ourselves. So the composition is kind of, as far as are things in the right place, this probably wants to come a little bit taller. Where did our sketch go? Doop. So this probably wants to come a little bit taller. There's kind of like a nice, in this one, there's a nice kind of like diagonal. It's kind of like working around and then turning back. So this probably wants to come a little bit higher. This may be still a little bit higher or closer so that it's not dropped as much. But as far as getting things where they're supposed to be, we're probably somewhere in the ballpark. Let's kind of, let's do some tweakage. Alrighty. I'm gonna try moving this forward. Maybe this comes a bit like that, so we get a little bit more of this wrap going. Obviously, we're gonna roughen up all of these lines. Probably not today. That'll possibly be more of a tomorrow task. But let's lift that up. I'm thinking that we'll have some like light peeking out here, light coming from up here. It's kind of my thought. Oh, Vlad, so glad you picked up the kit, and hopefully you'll get a chance to start playing with it in the near future. Let's quickly, whilst we spent all of that time waiting for this guy to get started, let's at very least see what happens. I'm thinking, what if we backlight this guy? We're gonna make it super foggy, I think, and then I'm gonna see if I like this better as water, which we're just gonna do as kind of a dumb man's water, which is to say a noise in the bump map, and call it good. Well, let's see what this is starting to look like. I need to figure out a way. I generally don't use my Cintiq when I'm working in 3D, and so it's turned off and hanging out over there. I have to do a test run. I would say I would do like a quick paint over of this to kind of figure out how things are looking and developing. Paint overs are something I think I'm going to do later this week specifically. But OBS does not like when you turn monitors on and off whilst it's running, and so I have to figure out a way to deal with that. So we're gonna hold off on it just today. But let's see. I think we need for this to be probably taller and thinner fog. Dun, dun, dun. And less absorption. Should start to brighten some stuff up a little bit. Let's make it a bit thinner. This is one of the things that's actually kind of driving me away from F-Storm at the moment. It doesn't support VDBs. Its atmospheric system is super duper limited. And so you can only do so much, unfortunately. and I spend so much time trying to get things to look right that would be easy if I had just a few more settings. Alright, so we need to get some light going all the way down, which we're not getting yet. And let's see, how much contrast do we have? Not a ton. What's our Z-depth mask look like? That looks good. What we might need to do is change the sky that's in here, because this might not be high enough for us. Or we could... That's where everything is. Let's see here. Unreal Engine. I have played a little bit with Unreal Engine. I have not done a ton of it. I do not like all of the kind of hurdles you have to jump through just to get things going, especially if you're not working always for game kind of production, which obviously I'm not. So I'm kind of underwhelmed with Unreal overall. I am really liking some of the output that I'm seeing from other artists. But for me, I'm not sure that the amount of work to deal with it is worth it at the moment. You're welcome, Martine. You're welcome. So yeah, my plans for Unreal Engine, I think if I was going to go and mess around with the real-time engine that's out right now, it would probably be Eevee and Blender, or Lavina with V-Ray. If I decide to start playing with some anything basically that is related to real-time. Unreal, I don't know. I'm not super pro Unreal at the moment. What we're gonna do here, these giant boxes we're going to use to block out all of the light that's coming forward, and these should be nice and tall, and just a solid black material. Which should start to darken down all of the forward-facing surfaces, fingers crossed. Let's see what happens there. Khalid, that's good to know. That's going to speed up things. But for me, once I got everything set up, in the few things that I've experimented with it, once it got set up, I was pretty happy, playing around with it. It was the amount of work to get everything working or to change things that I wasn't happy about. It wasn't so much its performance at all. So I don't know. I'm not dying to start trying it, I guess is what or get into it, is what I'm trying to say. But you never know. I've said that about a lot of things in the past and then gone back on it. So at the moment, I don't have any plans for it. But I'm definitely not promising that won't change, because God knows I like to change my mind. All right, let's toss in a couple of lights down here and see what starts to happen. Octane does handle fog and atmosphere wonderfully. Octane does, and Redshift does as well. Honestly, I could kind of go anywhere and get better environmental functions. But I do feel like the power just to stay with what you know and what you're relatively efficient with is a strong desire. So we'll see. Something I expect will change in the future. What it will change to, no idea. No idea at all. So I'm just dropping in some quick sphere point lights to see what starts happening if we take that. Because I think that'd be cool if there's like little spots of orange, kind of like orangey yellowish light, kind of all throughout this, especially once we get trees and all that fun stuff in there. That is the thought or hope. I'm also working in black and white because we do not have time to start playing with color in, you know, the next 5-10 minutes before this is over for today. And color can be super duper distracting. At least I find it to be very, very distracting if it doesn't look good. We can see what it looks like with color right now. Maybe. We have enough fog in here that it's basically desaturated at this point anyways. Yeah, you win some, you lose some. Let's go ahead and give it a little bit of a color. Why not? Yeah, as far as fog goes, Jake, Martine's definitely right that Octane does a good job with it. Though I have some issues with kind of some of the things that Octane has done in the past. So I'm not super keen on trying Octane. Redshift I'm much more excited about between the two, to be honest. But both of them have kind of like a full support for VDBs and more complex fog, procedural noise and fog, things like that you can control it a lot better. F-Storm is just very, very far behind on that for God knows what reason. I have my guesses, but I'm going to keep them to myself. So I'm kind of going to try one more thing here. I like the idea of where things are going. I can see how this is going to improve. I'm not thrilled with it yet, but I'm okay with that. Remember back at the beginning when I said the goal is to get to something that kind of looks like the direction you're going at, and it'll probably suck at first? We are at that stage, ladies and gentlemen. One of the other things, on top of trying to get to kind of the shitty phase as fast as possible, which is kind of where we are now, so that we can still change things while it's all very loose and easy to change. The other reason that I like getting here as quickly as possible, the other thing that I like getting here as quickly as possible for is because if I spend a ton of time on a project or on an image that I think in my head is going to be awesome, and I work and I model stuff and I get things all kind of individually looking the way I want them to, and then I hit render for the first time after putting all that work in, and it looks like shit, which it almost always does at first. I get pretty bummed out. Like that's a bummer, right? And if you've put all that work in, that like deflating of your sails can really kind of like stop a project, or at least like take the energy out of it. Whereas like right now, if this looks like shit, well, you know, we can just look at the geometry and say, yeah, there's a million things that I know need to get fixed. So it's very easy to look at this one that's not looking that great yet and be okay with the fact that it doesn't look that great yet. But I do just want to get it just a little bit further along before I call it quits for today. And I think the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put a couple of uplights in here. I was hoping that highlighting the top surfaces would help, and it doesn't really. So I'm going to put a couple lights going up just to see if that gives me kind of that feeling of, okay, I like where I got an idea, things are working. It's a good place to stop because I'll know just what to do when I start again. I don't like to stop working when I'm stuck, even though sometimes what you really need is a break from it so you can rest your eyes and let your brain kind of catch up. But I try as much as possible to leave a project, and this is for professional work and for personal work for that matter. But I do try to leave these projects at a place where I know exactly what the next thing to do is, where I'm still positive about it. Where I'm still positive about it, and I know the exact next thing to do, so that when I come back to it, I don't have to sit and think about any of that. So let's put that on. Let's give that a warmish color. We'll change this light by the end of all of this. And I'm sure it won't look great right now, but it'll at least give us an idea of what's happening in the composition if we can light these. Okay. Let's move that into place. And Uno Mas. And this one we're going to pull back just a little bit more and put that guy kind of aimed up this direction. I don't think we need him to be quite so targeted. And let's see what we get. And while that's catching up, we will see what you guys are saying. Yeah, Corona's fog looks good. I've never played with it, but it's not something that I think stands out. Alley, yes, the Suck Valley. It's a real thing. For anyone that doesn't know what Alley is referring to, let's see if I can quickly find it without showing things that I'm not supposed to show on live stream. Move that over. I feel like I saved the kind of version of that. Oh, this is one of them. Hope you guys can read that. And where I feel like I had a graph of it somewhere, and I can't find it. Of course not. When you need things the most, they are nowhere to be found. But yeah, if you imagine this list in a graph form, you have this like amazing idea, you think it's super great, it's going up, and then it starts getting a little tricky, and then you start thinking that it's shit, and then you let that start, you know, influencing how you're thinking about yourself, and it's going down and down and down, and then eventually, hopefully, you know, you find the other side of that where it starts to get better and you get your confidence back. I have found that, you know, emotional trajectory to be true for like every single project I've ever done, whether it's personal or private, or personal or public, or, you know, for clients or not. And the biggest thing that I've found for my way to cope with it is what you're seeing right now, which is to say, let's bottom out as quickly as possible. Every one of these images is going to kind of look like shit at the start point. So let's do that when I have a very easy answer of how to start climbing up. In this case, like the very easy answer is going to be, okay, we're going to put some rocks in, we're going to put some trees in. If we can get this composition to kind of start reading, I will feel okay about stopping for now. Otherwise, I'm just going to, you know, continue tinkering until it gets there. But there was a part of me when I was kind of like figuring out what I was going to do today on the stream. I'm like, oh, okay, if you're going to work on it, you should like test a few ideas and kind of like, you know, go through and prep a few things so that you know it's going to work, so that you look like, you know, have all the answers and don't make any mistakes and blah, 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 blah. You guys know how that nonsense goes. I definitely thought about doing things that way, but I decided against it. I'm going to try not to do any work on this image outside of the stream. Because I think one of the things that I know that I fall victim to all of the time is you're going through Instagram, you're looking at all the stuffs from everyone, and you look at it and you're like, how do these people do so much work and it's all amazing, and you forget that like they all struggle. You know, I don't think anybody doesn't make shit images from now and again. You just don't ever see them anymore. And you don't see them working through the process of making it cool. So this process I am planning on being warts and all. Ooh, you know what might be cool? I want that silhouetted. Let's copy that. I'm gonna make this into a silhouette. Or I'm gonna see what happens if I make this into a silhouette, I should say. Dun, dun, dun. When your fog's not doing what you want it to do, fake it. Thomas, what's going on, my friend? So good to see you stopping by. I appreciate it. The project that you have been posting teasers to, I mean, it applies to what I was just saying. It looks amazing, dude. I'm so excited to see what it looks like as a whole project. But those last couple of paintings and images you put up have been gorgeous. Oh, Clark, I'm all about faking it till I make it. 100%. 100%. What I want to see is if this light back here will help separate this. Oh, you know what we can do? Here's what we're going to do for the next 5 minutes since I'm running long. Where, oh where, oh where. Give me 1 second, folks. While this... Do we have the elements that we need? We have a depth map that works. We're going to do a quick paint over of this in Photoshop to get like an idea of where it's going. And since I can't turn the Cintiq on, I got to go grab the Intuos. So give me a moment and I'll be right back and we'll do something cool. Okay, where is that hiding? Now, what do we need? We need 2 things. Okay, found the tablet. That's step 1 done. Does this cord fit into that one? And so now we just need a cable and a pen, and we'll do a paint over, which is one of my favorite things, to get an idea of where this is going to go. Hopefully, fingers crossed. If we can find what we need. Let's see. What kind of cable are you? Wrong cable. What kind of cable are you? Right cable. And if I was Mike's old Wacom pens, where would I be? Oops. Oh Lord. Okay. Alrighty, folks. If you're still with me, it's painting time. Old school painting time, I think. We'll see. Thank you, Thomas. I appreciate it. I'm doing what I can. I am worried when I see people not so much panicking. You know, being worried right now is not I think a problem. I think everyone's worried, and I think there's a lot of reason to be worried. And trying to figure everything out. There's obviously a lot of uncertainty going on at the moment. We'll see how that setup goes. there's a lot of reason I think to be worried. And I don't want to downplay that in any way, shape, or form. But by that very same token, I think that we shouldn't get defeatist. I think the generations before us dealt with a lot more than we did, and I don't think that they were made of fundamentally different stock than we are. I think that we're going to rise to the occasion as people, and I think that we're going to make it through this one way or another. We're going to make it through this. So I am definitely on the. It's not great. It's going to be tough, but we're going to rise to the occasion. I believe that to my core. And I think that whilst trying to work our way through everything, the number one thing that we can do is not allow us to get defeated. Not take on like a defeatist, we can't do this mindset, because that'll be a killer. I think if we can stay productive in one way or another, we're gonna be all right. I believe in us. Hence, wartime optimism, baby, all the way. All right, I'm gonna let this save, and we're gonna see what kind of fun Adobe has wrecked with Intuos drivers. I've not used my Intuos tablet for this in a while, so cross your fingers, folks. We might be in for some Windows Ink fun. Okay. I have about 5 minutes before I need to go because I have a client call in 10. So, let's see what we can do in 5 minutes. And while we're getting these loaded up real quick, later this week I am going to be, I just need depth and beauty. I'm going to be doing paintovers, so if any of you have test renders, finished renders, works in progress, raw renders, and you want to see what I would do with it in about 10-15 minutes as like a paintover to get ideas out, hit me up through a message in some platform or another, Instagram or Facebook or anything like that. I'm probably going to do it on Friday. I haven't fully decided on that. And I can always paint over some of my own stuff. Ooh, look, it works. Yeah, there we go. One time. Okay. And the mapping's a little bit weird, but we'll just deal with it. So yeah, so if you guys have any interest in me painting over your work, just let me know, and I would be happy to do so. And if not, I'll just paint over my stuff. Paintovers, I think it's incredibly common in most CG industries to paint over renderings as a quick way to figure out what needs to happen in them. And it's relatively rare, I find, in ArcViz. And I think that's a shame. And I'm also going to turn this back to black and white because we don't have time to mess with color. Arky9's videos are great. They do a lot of that kind of painting. And I think that you can kind of very quickly get an idea of what is and isn't working. That would take a long time to test in 3D. All right, so we can kind of rough up some of these edges. We can start painting a little bit of like the fog and atmosphere that I'm thinking of in this, if we select the right color. And it's not so much that I have a very, very specific picture in my head of what this is going to turn out to. It's more, oops, clone stamp, thank you. What did that do? It's more that I'm just trying to kind of test ideas like quickly, so that I can figure out what I want to do in 3D efficiently, right? As opposed to like moving things around and continuing to mess with lighting for forever. We can kind of very quickly in here at least paint in like the main compositional elements. Oops. All right, and so like something like this, we want to have just a little bit darker. Nope, that's not what I wanted to hit. All right, so that this becomes like a silhouette. We can actually use our depth mask to grab that again. Love me a depth mask. Kind of quickly level this guy. Black here. White there. Dun, 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 dun. And I just kind of work super slow. If you guys end up following this live stream for its duration, you'll find that I do like working quickly and sloppily. Alright, so we can do something like this. Do the same thing really quickly. What time is it? 2:23. We're doing all right. I don't know what that is. So we're just going to use this again to quickly level out, just so we can get that silhouette super duper quickly. So black, and then white, and then we paint in some lighter colors. And we've got some dark spots coming in here. Not that light. What are you thinking, Mike? Dun, dun, dun. So I think that we'll have we need some more stuff over here. This we're gonna go black with. Thank you, Thomas. Thank you for stopping by, buddy. Good to see you. Can't wait to see what you're working on, my friend. So this is already kind of, hopefully you guys can see that like this at least has like an idea of where this is hopefully gonna go, or where I'm thinking of it going. And then maybe the last thing we'll do is with a little screen layer, we'll go in and maybe paint just a little bit of light in. I'm kind of picturing like some light in here. We'll have some lights up here. Maybe there's a little light down here, little dots of light. Something up here. We'll have some up here. Something like that. That's kind of the idea. That's the very, very rough idea. So as opposed to looking at this, which the things are there, compositionally, this is, I think, the direction that we're going to go. That's my 4 to 5 minute paint over without using my Cintiq. Did I miss anything that I need to comment on? I don't think so. All right, I have a client call to jump onto in about 5 minutes, so I should probably shut this down. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I very much appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and that you guys are staying home, staying safe, and staying positive, and also staying productive in one way or another. We'll be back again tomorrow to hopefully make the 3D side of this look just a bit better. But yeah, thank you all very, very much. Stay safe. Say hello to your loved ones. Touch base with the friends you haven't seen in a while. Yeah, until tomorrow. Be well, everybody. Take care.